Hey, everybody. Welcome to Game Mess Mornings with me, Jeff Grubb, your host from GiantBomb.com. Thank you for tuning in. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the biggest game release of the year, bringing Steam and the Nintendo eShop to their knees, and PlayStation fans finally getting news about that PS5 game they've all been waiting for. It's going to be a good one because we have Jan Ochoa on the show, which is brought to you by MSI. Jan, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I think I could actually use a new Mobo.
Yeah, me too, actually. I frequently am getting frustrated with this system. It's time to move on. Time to move on and up. How's it going? Did you try to get Silksong this morning? I've not had time to do so myself.
I already saw everyone talking about, and this is going to be our first news story. I already saw everyone talking about the difficulties in trying to get it on the eShop, and then I thought, like, oh, maybe Steam, and then I saw just as many folks complaining about not being able to get it on Steam. So I think I'm going to do the waiting game, Grubb. I'm going to wait for the dust to settle. I hope this doesn't affect the Silksong along at all.
No, I think we should be fine.
Because I feel like that would destroy Mike Minotti. Because now I think we could say that not only did the game not exist when he played it, but maybe it still doesn't exist.
Maybe so. I'm going to turn myself up, Jan, because I think people are saying that you're louder than me. Let me know if that just ruined everything, but my mic was turned way down.
I'll fix it.
All right, sounds good. You know what? We should get into this show. We're starting a little bit late. People want to get the Silksong, so let's get the news out of the way and explain who we are and what we do here. We're Giant Bomb. You can go to giantbomb.com/join, become a premium member. Thank you to everyone who has done so. It has meant a lot. We see those numbers come in. It makes all the difference in the world to enable us to continue to do the cool stuff that you people ask us to do, and we want to keep doing it, and that's the best way to ensure your support can make that happen. That's giantbomb.com/join. Gets you ad-free episodes of our shows, gets you some special goodies. Go ahead and make that happen. All right, as far as this show goes, most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS feed on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with Silksong release briefly takes down Steam and Nintendo eShop. This is from Michael McWhorter at Polygon. It's not just you. Steam and the Nintendo eShop are having major issues on Thursday morning, the day of the long-awaited launch of Hollow Knight Silksong. That may be due to a mass influx of traffic as a result of Team Cherry's release. Steam is up and down as of around 10 a.m. Eastern, when Silksong was scheduled to launch on Windows PC. I was continuing to have problems with Steam this morning, so that is ongoing. When trying to load the Steam website or desktop application, visitors may see the error message, "Something went wrong. We were unable to service your request. Please try again later." But Valve appears to be quickly addressing the issue. The Steam website occasionally loads just fine. Polygon has reached out to Valve for comment and will update the story when the company responds. Visitors to the Nintendo eShop are experiencing similar issues trying to load the Hollow Knight Silksong page. On the eShop is displaying errors as well. Customers may see the warning, error code, blah, 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 a bunch of numbers. Couldn't connect to the server. The network may be busy, or there may be a problem with the server. Please try again later. This does still occasionally happen. Maybe not to this extent recently, but we knew this game was going to be massive, and everyone is rushing there. Like the release time was published earlier this week, Jan, so people knew exactly when to show up, and everyone has shown up at that time. I think that's kind of doing a number here on these servers, but a little surprised that the most anticipated game of the year, it has kind of come to a head now, and everyone's trying to get it at the same time, right?
I feel terrible for anyone that may have taken the day off today.
Sure.
To devote their whole day to go play Silksong, and maybe they weren't one of the lucky few that were able to sneak in before the eShop or Steam or whatever other game storefront shut down or got broken. But Grubb, I love this. I love that an indie game can bring these gigantic eShop stores, Steam and whatever else, down to their knees. And showing the power of an indie game. And sure, there is a lot of hype behind this one. There's a lot of like memes behind this one. And maybe there's a lot of people that haven't even played the original Hollow Knight, myself included, that really want to check this out because of all of that hype that has been generating over the last couple of years, that they want to finally see what this is about. But I love that it's an indie game coming from a super small team, especially in a year where we've seen so many AAA games get canceled, projects never see the light of day, and it's great because this is not an extraction shooter.
Yes, yeah, this feels like what people claim that they want, and to be proven right. Everyone being like, you should make more games like this, fewer extraction shooters, more stuff like Silksong. And here we are, the game comes out, and it is as much of a success as people were making it sound like it would be. And yeah, it continues to remind people there's a massive audience of people who just want a gamer's game, and this is going to likely deliver exactly that. We haven't had reviews, really even early word of mouth about the game at all from previews or anything like that. No one's really played the game because they did not hand out early code. They wanted the Kickstarter backers to get it at the same time, as everyone else, as early as possible. So I guess everyone should be getting their code right now as the game is available on these stores. It's also on Xbox Game Pass. So I know a lot of people are getting it on there. We'll talk about that when we do our poll question from yesterday later on in the show. So yeah, it's like a good sign that, like, when we talk about all of the reasons that the future of gaming is a question mark, it's never about people not wanting to play these video games. There's so many people who want that, and Silksong is kind of the poster child for that right now.
Yeah, if anything, that makes me question the future of video games, Grubb. It's the people at the very top that may just screw up the whole system in entirety and just try and turn everything into a Roblox style extraction shooter.
Yep.
Without actually trying to make a game.
Right. Yeah. Putting the business models first is kind of, I think, what these other larger companies have been guilty of, and kind of like working backwards from this kind of game prints money. We need to have one of those kinds of games that has that kind of business model. And that has not really worked out for any of these companies, really. Even the ones that have worked out, like going back 10-ish years over the last decade. Like Fortnite worked out really well chasing a trend. It chased a gameplay trend. They're like, let's just go make a battle royale like this other battle royale, and that worked. And then the business model stuff came later, and they've made a ton of money by figuring out new and innovative ways to take advantage of this battle royale system. I just think, I guess extraction shooter is a gameplay concept to a certain extent, but you get the sense that was a thing selected in the second step of, we want a live service game. Where do we see, the bluest waters? What's the blue ocean strategy here? Well, there's not that many extraction shooters compared to Battle Royale. It feels like that's what happened with all those games. And in the meantime, people are going to go play Silksong instead. All right. Marvel's Wolverine will reportedly be shown during September's State of Play. This is from Blair Marnell at GameSpot. This month marks the 4th anniversary of the announcement for Marvel's Wolverine. Insomniac Games hasn't shared much beyond the game's initial teaser, but according to a new report, Wolverine will be featured at Sony's next State of Play event near the end of September. According to Insider Gaming, a new trailer for Wolverine has been finished for a potential debut at State of Play. Sony already had a State of Play this week for 007 First Light, and it hasn't yet announced plans for another one later this month. Tokyo Game Show's happening later this month. They usually have one before there. A lot of the time, I've heard that there's one coming. I've also heard, Jan, that Wolverine could easily be in there, but they do have some, there's just some timeline concerns that was like, there's no reason to assume like it's guaranteed it'll be a lock for the show. Even now with this report, this finished asset that they likely do have that could be in the State of Play, they could still decide last minute, be like, let's save that for Keighley's Game Awards later this year, because that game's coming out, at the earliest in late 2026. Who knows? But I think right now it's a distinct possibility that this Wolverine trailer could be in there. I think the timeline concerns are that there are a couple of games, at least one game that comes to mind that was supposed to come out this year is now coming out next year, and that's that God of War Metroidvania style spin-off game. And so it's like, that is one that's like, okay, they were probably like, well, we'll talk about that first. Maybe that kind of becomes the marquee thing in this State of Play, and then everything else can come later. But I don't know how they're going to want to position that. Even that game is coming out next year, and maybe that, like, the State of Play is about setting up this holiday still. So who knows if that game shows up in this State of Play. But going back to Wolverine, Jan, it does feel like the PlayStation 5 game that people are like, okay, once we get to Wolverine, this PlayStation 5 that I spent X amount of dollars on, and maybe that's X plus $100, because it's gone up in price in the last couple of years. Maybe I just got it recently, but I've been waiting for Wolverine. At least that game will make it worth it. Do you think this game can live up to that hype, those expectations, that it will be able to hold up this entire house for Sony in a lot of ways?
I feel like there's no possible way that it can, even if it is a fantastic game, even if it winds up blowing everyone's minds and expectations because of just like the lack of other marquee titles on the PS5 this whole generation.
Right.
Rob. Like this isn't the task for one game to carry. This is a task that should have been a baton pass over the years of the PS5 being out and alive. We had Ratchet and Clank, we had a God of War, but after those two titles, and then there's Astrobot, but then we've just been hit with re-release, remaster, Concord, and teases of Marathon. That what is there on the PS5 other than just like having a brand new shiny toy? I guess there's also the Final Fantasy VII Remake game, but this is I don't think that Wolverine can save the PS5, and also I don't necessarily think it needs to be saved.
No,
because at this point, if Sony's already talking about having 3 different SKUs for the PS6, I feel like they've already come to terms with whatever the PS5 is going to do for them business wise.
Yep. Yeah.
And also, I'd like to ask you, Grubb, do you think Wolverine is bigger than Kratos? Because in my head, I think he is.
Yeah, I think for that, because like Spider-Man is bigger than Kratos, and Wolverine I think is kind of right there next to Spider-Man, maybe one notch below. Spider-Man's just got such a broad appeal that we've seen that repeatedly throughout multiple mediums now. Yeah, I think Wolverine, just like, we're going to talk about it in a little bit, the way that like James Bond is potential breakout for IO Interactive, despite having a great game for a long time with Agent 47 and Hitman. It's like, if James Bond's recognizable, you can maybe like translate that into some new kinds of success. Wolverine is the kind of thing where it's like people will recognize that you get a good one of those from a recognizable developer, the team that did Spider-Man. Yeah, I think people will take notice in a way that even Kratos doesn't necessarily get. Kratos is massive, and the games sell very well. But Spider-Man sold way better, and Wolverine has the potential to do Spider-Man numbers if it delivers the way that those Spider-Man games have. Yeah, I just think that like you're right. PS5 doesn't need to be saved. This is all about sort of making people feel good about spending money, and I think we're in a precarious position when it comes to that. That's the story over and over again is younger people aren't buying games. They certainly aren't buying consoles. We could see that in the year-over-year declines for both the PS5 and the Xbox. The Switch, kind of a whole other story, but for those, they are dipping fast, extremely fast. So like the PlayStation 5 was down something near 50% year over year. The Xbox was down 70% year over year after being down year over year in 2020 before. I had to look at the year. I'm like, what year is it? It's 2025. And so yeah, it's like making people feel good about like going forward and maybe doing this whole rodeo again. Like, are you going to be ready and raring to go to get a PS6 at potentially $700 when you just had this maybe what you consider to be a rough experience with the PS5 where you waited a half a decade to really feel good about the purchase that you made?
Yeah.
And just looking at PlayStation's recent output, and I don't think they're like alone in this, but they are sort of they're going to get the spotlight because they have the biggest console and they have been known to put out big games that really have won people over.
Yeah.
We're talking about, okay, we're waiting for Ghost of Yotei and they had Astrobot last year. Is that it? It's like, well, no, there's other stuff. They had Lost Soulside. That's a Sony Interactive Entertainment published game.
Right.
Is that is it like, okay, if it's not high tide with, Helldivers 2, Ghost of Yotei, Wolverine, is it kind of low tide with some of these lesser games, and that's how they're going to fill in the gaps? Because the other option was those Final Fantasy games. So it's like, let's get that in here, make those exclusive, not published by Sony Interactive Entertainment, make those exclusive to kind of fill in the gaps. Well, Square Enix is not interested in doing that anymore. So how does Sony continue to make the system feel like a value to people and or maybe they don't care about making it feel like a value anymore, because it's like, where else are you going to go if this is the kind of way if this is the way you like to play games? What other option do you have? Because PlayStation really is kind of the only game in town for high fidelity console TV gaming.
Yeah, and I honestly hate that position that they've been put into, Grub, because I feel like a lot of people that have bought into the PS5 or the PlayStation ecosystem come to that console for a very specific type of game, and it's not necessarily just to have another machine to play Fortnite on or Call of Duty on or all these other multiplayer games. It's because they're looking for like that AAA blockbuster single player experience that PlayStation has built their reputation on. And for them and like their CFO or CMO, I forget the actual acronyms, a couple of weeks ago, Grub, to say that like, hey, we're still really focused on Marathon. We're still really focused on
live service
games. It is contradictory to what propped PlayStation up and like kind of the platform that they had been creating. If and Grub, we're seeing it in Silksong. For as many gamers as there are out there, there are so many that do not want to play a game with another person. There's plenty that want to like share that single player experience and share stories of it and their experiences, but there are a lot of people that just want to game on their own time, and maybe they have the friends, they have the communities, they just don't have the time to be able to interact with other people as freely as they can, just playing a game on their own time.
Yep. Yeah. I think those people are like, often look around and like, are we being left behind? And I think in some ways these companies are, but at the same time, it's always like, oh, it's the single player narrative game dead. We've gone through that a bunch of times, and it's never actually been dead. You just got to look in different places. It's coming from different directions than it would traditionally come from. Sony's going to continue to spend the same amount of money it's been spending on games like Wolverine. And I think that just means like, don't expect them to fill in the gaps with other stuff like that. And also expect maybe the gap between those kinds of games to get a little bit bigger, because they're not spending a ton of extra money to keep up with rising development costs and rising time needed to complete these games. And that's, again, I think where some of the anxiety comes from for people who spent $500 to $750 on a PlayStation 5 this generation. It's just that the story you could tell yourself becomes more difficult facing down those facts.
And for as many people that are pointing out, well, Helldivers was a runaway success for PlayStation, yes, I feel like that's more attributed to the state of multiplayer games, Grub, where people are growing so fatigued with a battle royale game or like a Call of Duty. And also I think that also speaks to why Battlefield 6's beta was so popular, because it just felt different and polished enough from what gamers had been playing with for years now.
Yep, and like Helldivers 2 like speaks to the changing landscape for Sony, because that's a game that launched on PC day and date with the PlayStation version and did way better on PC than it did on PlayStation 5. And now they've launched it on Xbox, this Sony interactive game on Xbox, and it's selling faster on Xbox than it did on PlayStation, according to reports. So like, that this is more information that Sony's going to be using to be like, the way we've done things is not as good as the way we're doing things now, and so we need to keep trending in this direction, and that makes things look different as well. So we're just talking about the landscape shifting, Sony trying to keep up, and that, what does that mean? Well, Helldivers 2 is a part of that. It's a massive part of the shifting landscape.
I also strongly dislike, Grub, that the barrier of entry now to get a PS5 is so high if the games that PlayStation is trying to present as like the main focal points of the console are not for you. Like if you were just trying to get into like a JRPG or like a single player game, it is so hard to be able to do that now. I mean, everything costs an obscene amount now, but now with like the PS5 going up in price and games not necessarily going down at all, in fact, like, they're staying at a stagnant price of like $70 to $80. It's just hard to justify upgrading to a PS5 if you've been on the PS4 or the Switch 1. At this point, I know we say this all the time, I would rather get a PC, even if it's like a second-hand PC or a Steam Deck at this point.
Yeah. I mean, you just like it's easy to understand what the PC is going to be and continue to be in. It has this gravitational well that brings sort of everybody to it eventually, even Sony. Maybe not Nintendo. I was waiting for my Chinese food the other day, and I was talking to a guy. We were talking about games. He saw my Switch 2, and he's like, I think Nintendo will be on PC in 5 years. I'm like, just say 10 years when you make a prediction like that. Anything can happen in 10 years, but probably not 5.
That being said, Grubb,
yeah, please.
I'm still excited for a Wolverine game because I'm a Marvel sicko. I don't know what this game is going to look like because with Spider-Man, you have traversal abilities. You have the web slinging built in. That's a major component to the character. Wolverine is a short king, much like myself, that is angry all the time and has metal claws.
Yep. I'm also looking forward to it. I love those Spider-Man games. Those are some of my favorite PlayStation games. Just great to play. They feel fantastic. I want to see how they translate that to Wolverine. And Wolverine is a character I like a lot. I'm kind of a basic bitch when it comes to that stuff. Give me Wolverine.
Snicked.
Snicked indeed. All right. Speaking of hey, how does PlayStation fill in the gaps? Well, one of the ways they do that is by partnering with multi-platform games that are going to go everywhere, but they kind of treat them as PlayStation games. They did it with Hogwarts Legacy to great effect. And they're going to try to repeat that with 007 First Light, which had a state of play yesterday. Wesley Yinpool at IGN sort of wraps up some of the details here. 007 First Light has set a release date of March 27, 2026 as part of an extensive first look at gameplay during a Sony State of Play deep dive. IOI's James Bond adventure launches then across PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, Nintendo Switch 2, and PC. Pre-orders get it. There's a deluxe edition for free and a bunch of other stuff. And then there's a massive collector's edition that comes with a golden gun for like $300. They showed off gameplay of this game that is coming out March 27th of next year. And they showed to press a little bit earlier this week. And they kind of let us ask some questions, but I don't think we saw much of what people we didn't see much more than what people saw in this state of play. But I do feel like when I was there and was able to ask some questions, I got a pretty good feeling from this game. Nice. I think it looks like it's going to deliver what you want here from both a James Bond side of things and the developer Hitman side of things. So the way the structure works is there are these guided missions, is I think how they're describing them, and those will be the set pieces, linear corridor sort of thing. You're driving a car. I didn't think the car driving looked too hot. That was the one thing I was like, I kind of wish they would amplify this a little bit. But it could be there was a mission where you're trying to get to a plane on a tarmac and you're shooting at cars and exploding them, and you're kind of going from cover to cover and stuff like that. This is one of the guided missions that's going to be kind of what it is. Set pieces, you go forward, you trigger something cool happens, and then you get to the next I'm not going to say real mission, but the next open mission. And there's several of these, and these play a lot more like Hitman, where they are open. You can decide sort of how to solve them yourself. You can come up with a bunch of different ideas, and the game's going to facilitate that. They showed off to us a sequence where James Bond caused a distraction, by messing around with a hose or something, electricity, and someone was had to look the other way, and then he hopped a fence, climbed in through a window, and then suddenly he was at the party that he couldn't get into because he didn't have an invitation. There's segments where he's overhearing people's phone conversations, and that provides intel, and then he can act on that. It's very Hitman, but with a strong James Bond flavor on top. And I just think that the way that they could, to me, it just sounds like a good structure of have these action-focused guided missions, then let us kind of do some cool James Bond shit at these exotic locales, and then take me on another guided mission to whisk me off to some other exotic location. And I think as long as they can keep the pacing pretty solid of getting you in and out of these open missions in a way that kind of feels like a James Bond action movie, then I think it's going to deliver. And I was pretty impressed by it. Did you get a chance to see any of the state of play?
I didn't get the chance to check out the whole state of play. I saw a couple clips on social media, Grubb, of the game. And if this game can deliver on the miscellaneous Hitman hijinks that you kind of craft for yourself as a player, but also kind of come to a cinematic conclusion or cinematic set piece, I think that will hit really, really well with a lot of audiences. Yeah. Where the example they showed of like you got to get into the party. Well, you find your own means to get in there, but then once you're there at the party, there is like a big set piece. I could find that being very, very enticing for audiences. Also, like we mentioned with Wolverine, 007, James Bond, that's a name that a lot of people are familiar with, that a lot of people are kind of like starving to see more from.
Yeah, I think people will decide, like, I was never into those older Hitman games, so I've ignored those. I can continue ignoring these new Hitman games, even though Jeff Grubb won't shut up about them, that sort of thing. James Bond resets the clock on that, where people go, well, this is different than Hitman. I'll get in on the ground floor. I'll get to see what all the fuss is about with this studio, and it's a familiar property, so I kind of have some buy-in already. You could kind of see the obvious reasons why they are putting a lot of effort into it, and they are putting a lot of effort into it. The technology looks significantly improved for like crowds inside of buildings. And, the phone conversation you were overhearing looked a lot more naturalistic than it does in Hitman. That kind of feels like a living board game in a lot of ways, which no complaints. But I think when we're trying to like up the production values, that was apparent here. Now, there were some concerns people have about the frame rate. It was really crashing whenever explosions would happen. I'll mention that because I guess, it's a fact, but I'm just not concerned about that for a game that's not coming out until next year. We're still 6 months away. Why did they show it off if it's going to run poorly? I don't know. I just think people should get it. That has nothing to do with how the game's probably going to run when it hits systems next year. And then beyond that, I don't know. I just think I like the tone that they're going for. Young James Bond, kind of learning on the job, that sort of thing. Seems promising to me. I've always liked James Bond in video games. I'm still playing through Everything or Nothing, getting near the end of that. It's nice to see him back in full form, in top form, I should say.
I think it's also clever to go with a younger James Bond versus an older one, also because you avoid having to model the player character as an existing actor or previous actor that's portrayed Bond. And also, it lends itself to the Hitman hijinks of like, oh shit, I don't quite know what I'm doing yet, so I did just laser that dude in the face and threw a briefcase at his partner. My hope is that James Bond is also a believer in throwing coins to distract people.
Yes, yeah, I think there was something that he threw to distract people in the demo that they showed us. I did ask, like, hey, like, how much is this going to be like Hitman in terms of the structure where you can get your level 20 mastery on a level by doing things over and over again and taking different paths and unlocking certain things and being like, okay, now you've earned this level achievement by doing this kill in this way. Now do it another way and unlock this level mastery. It doesn't sound like it's going to have a ton of that. This is much more about, this is a James Bond action adventure. Go through the adventure and don't necessarily worry about replaying the levels. Now, that's not to say there aren't reasons to replay things. They are going to give you multiple pathways so you can explore. It's just not about like leveling up and unlocking new ways of starting the mission the way it is in Hitman. All right. I'm looking forward to that game. Again, it's out March 27th. I'll be interested to see how the Switch 2 version runs, but that's a game I'll probably end up playing on PC anyhow. And we'll get answers on that early next year. For now, let's take a break. Plenty more headlines to get into, including Marvel Rivals launching on PS4. We'll talk about that after our break, which you can skip by going to giantbomb.com/join and getting the ad-free version of the show. We'll be right back. Jan, my computer's sick. I've decided it's time to start building a new one. I just don't know where to start.
Grubb, if your computer is sicky poo, you got to start with MSI, which just dropped something big in its brand new Z890 and B860 Intel motherboards.
Are those the motherboards that unlock the power of the Intel Core Ultra Series 2 CPUs?
Yes, sir. These Mobos, as we're calling them on the streets, are powerhouses for gaming, streaming, and whatever intense tasks you need to throw at them.
Okay, but Jan, you know me. I'm scared of tools. That screwdriver's so sharp.
It's okay, bud. MSI made them Jeff-proof and maybe Dan-proof as well, which means they're easy to work with. No more wrestling with tiny little screws or confusing manuals. We're talking easy debug LEDs that tell you exactly what's going on. Toolless installs for your M2 drives and JIPUs. or GPUs. We're calling them GPUs too now.
Okay, hell yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. MSI has that modern BIOS as well that looks like it was actually made for humans to use, not some relic from 2003. Give me more of that.
Yes, that's right. It's going to be so easy to get secure boots on the ground. It's like PC building on easy mode, Grubb. And here's the best part. Giant Bombcast listeners, MSI is giving you 10% off these new, regularly priced Z890 and B860 boards. Just head over to us-store.msi.com and use promo code BOMBCAST at checkout. Boom, instant savings.
I'm going to stack that discount. They allow you to do that. And with MSI's got ongoing promotions, that's potentially going to score me up to $120 in Steam codes. It's basically free games just for upgrading. Everyone listening should do the same.
So if you're ready to upgrade your setup, do not wait. Visit us-store.msi.com and use the code BOMBCAST, BOMCAST, all in lowercase, and give your PC the upgrade it deserves.
MSI, making PC building less of a headache and a lot more fun.
Mobo!
I'm exhausted from stacking all those discounts, but we should get back into the show anyhow. It's Game Mess Mornings. I'm Jeff Grubb. That's Jan Ochoa.
Mobo.
Let's continue with the headlines. 9 months after release, Marvel Rivals will arrive on your aging PS4. This is from Ed Nightingale at Eurogamer. Marvel Rivals is set to release on PS4 later this month alongside the hero shooter's 4th season. Season 4, Heart of the Dragon, will launch on the 12th of September, introducing new Vanguard hero Angela, a character originally created by Neil Gaiman and Todd McFarlane, who first appeared in Spawn in 1993. She's a one-winged angel who can fly and dive into enemies with her spear. This is an Image Comics character. What is happening here? What? How did this happen? Do you know how this happened?
This is a Todd McFarlane joint. That's why.
So I mean, I know they're independent. They can put it anywhere. It's just very bizarre. Later in the season, on the 25th of September, a new Convergence mode map will launch. Blah blah blah. We're talking about the PS4 version. A sign that the current gen still includes PS4. Now there isn't an Xbox One version. I think that makes sense. Probably that there's probably quite a few more active PS4s out there. And I think this is as simple as we're leaving money on the table. There are people who would play this game if they could access it.
Yeah.
The only way that they might want to access it is through their PlayStation 4, which they're using every day to play Fortnite or whatever, Roblox, whatever it is. Let's just give them this option and take it from there. Also, doing this work to get it running on PS4 will probably help when it eventually comes to Switch 2 as well. So it's like it all kind of lines up for take advantage of that PS4 audience now, get on the Switch 2 later, and make more money going into the future. It's probably that simple, right?
Yes, that's what I see this as, Grubb. This is like a pathway to get this working on the Switch 2 because this game would continue to do gangbusters on the Switch 2. It's kind of insane. Like, I've stopped playing Marvel Rivals, just kind of phased out because of time and everything, Grubb.
Yeah.
But it is wild that the game is still taking off. It is still doing popular, that they still have multiple characters planned on top of Angela. I believe there's like a Jean Grey character planned. I've seen not rumblings, but straight up gameplay of Blade. And I think they also recently put out a trailer for Daredevil coming to the game soon. So props to them for continuing to churn out characters and for this game continuing to be popular. But I think this does speak to how there is a large audience, Grubb, still on the PS4.
Yeah, and it's just like if you're one of these companies, stop expecting them to move on. If they haven't moved on yet, they're not going to. And if they are going to, it'll be because of GTA 6. And then what? You're gonna you're gonna have to be like, okay, well, you got GTA 6, now come play our game. Like, they're gonna be distracted with GTA 6 for quite some time. If they're waiting to get a PlayStation 5 for GTA 6, they're getting it to play GTA 6. They're not gonna go play your game. So if you want to get the attention of these people, you do it now on the PS4. And I think that makes a lot of sense.
I misspoke. Jean Grey and Blade are already out.
Yeah, who can keep up? It's impossible.
No.
So then Angela would be the next one. Are there other characters teased then? I don't know. I kind of am interested in going back to check out Marvel Rivals at some point. I don't know when we would ever do that.
I just need one hero to get me back in, Grubb. We all know who that is.
I know, bud.
Howard the
Duck. One day. The Boy Scout Howard the Duck. Not that one I just read. Star Wars Outlaws Switch 2 reviews are surprising. I have one review here, but there's a lot of other footage out there. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, that there was some footage and it looked pretty decent. Video Games Chronicle had a video that looked pretty solid. Well, now people are playing even more. There's more corroborating evidence here that this is a really surprising port. And there's a reason for that. The reason that it's so surprising, we'll get to that here in a second. But PJ O'Reilly at Nintendo Life basically said that he had a chance here now playing it on Switch 2 to see if the game lived up to the 8 out of 10 score he gave it when he played it on Xbox. He says it's totally justified. He still agrees with that score. But he was a little bit surprised when the reviews dropped, or that he was a little bit surprised when he started up this one and saw just how well it was running on Switch 2, especially after reports that the game looked like pretty underwhelming and maybe even pretty bad in handheld. Well, in docked mode and in handheld mode, it is running very, very solid. A solid 30 frames per second, which is, way better than it does on a Steam Deck or an Asus ROG Ally. And so that is like a huge improvement for the handheld version of this game. The reason that is so surprising, other than I think we might be a little accustomed to these bigger games that have come out in the past couple of years, maybe not always running great on any handheld, let alone the Switch 2. This game's technology fundamentally relies on ray tracing to the point where people on PC try to take the ray tracing out of the game to get more performance, and it breaks the game or it breaks the graphics and introduces all kinds of graphical glitches because it doesn't have a lot of rasterized lighting. It relies on ray tracing. That is still true on the Switch 2 version, which we always heard was going to support ray tracing, but whoever really thought we would see that or that any developer would actually try to do it? Well, it turns out some of these games need hardware ray tracing to take advantage, to actually get these games to run in the first place. And it's good enough for a game like this to run into that solid 30 frames per second. And I'm very encouraged by this, to the point where it's like I was trying to track down a code from Ubisoft, and now the game's out. I'll just go buy it. But yeah, I'm gonna play this, and a big part of that is Ubisoft has one of the cool features of Ubisoft is if you sign up for Uplay and you connect your account, they just have cloud saves built in, and you can transfer your save from PC consoles to Switch 2 in any direction. So I'm going to take my PC save and continue playing that game on Switch 2, and I'm looking forward to doing it. Jan, ray tracing on Switch 2, that's just, I mean, God, I think most people turn ray tracing off on PC with a very hefty GPU. Do you find this encouraging?
Sure, Grubb. This is one of those things where I feel like I would rather sacrifice in terms to just get a smoother game going. And I feel like for the normies out there that just want to play a game and may not be looking for graphic fidelity, especially if your new main console is a Switch 2, there's an understanding of like, oh, okay, no, I get it. Just make game run good, please. But it's to see the advancements with ray tracing. I would love to see this become more streamlined moving forward. Hopefully, it isn't as much of a problem moving forward.
Yep. I guess worth reminding people, ray tracing, the idea is it can calculate light rays, the path of rays moving through a scene, so it can physically render light or reflections in a much more realistic way. And you probably can't tell the difference because rasterized lighting got really good. And it's hard to tell the difference in a lot of cases, but it can save time for developers if they choose to go that route exclusively, which between this and Indiana Jones, the evidence is that more developers are doing exactly that. And the good news here is that if developers continue that trend, the Switch 2 seems like it should be able to handle it to a certain extent. And, I don't want to call Star Wars Outlaws one of those miracle ports like the Switch 1 got with Witcher 3 and Doom and all these other ones. But it's definitely an encouraging sign for this generation. New Valve trademark might have just revealed the Steam console's name. This is from Alex Hopley at Game Reactor. While Valve seems to be doing pretty well with the Steam Marketplace and Steam Deck, there have been rumors swirling of a Steam console, and it appears that we might now know the name of it. According to trademarks filed by Valve for computer hardware and a computer game console spotted on Reddit via WCCF Tech, the device's name is currently the Steam Frame. It has a better ring to it than the Steam Machine, which was Valve's last attempt at breaking into the home market. I don't know if I agree with that, but I do like the way Steam Frame sounds. There's no official confirmation for this from Valve, so take it with a pinch of salt, but the trademark filings are fresh, and there have been rumors of an RDNA 4 AMD device for some time now. It doesn't seem too far-fetched of an idea for Valve to step into the home console market, especially as Xbox seems to be going towards making consoles lightweight gaming PCs. Okay, so do you think the market's ready for a Valve console? Like, obviously with the idea of like it's probably going to be a consoleized version of a PC. Like, I think it can work. I just don't. It wouldn't be for me. So, do you think it can work?
I think it can work, Grubb. If they can if Valve can manage to get this in one of the big box retailers and market it well enough, like even if it's like in a Costco or something versus like a Best Buy, Target, Walmart. If it's in like a Costco and then someone sees it as they're getting their rotisserie chicken for the week, and sees the name Steam or the word Steam, and there's that familiarity, at least, even if you are a console gamer, of what Steam is, and the promise that you can play all of these Steam games on your Steam Frame, supposedly, then I could see that being enticing. Again, I think this is not a device for you and I specifically, or people in our space, but for someone bi-curious, Grubb, for getting a PC, this could be for them.
I think it's also the kind of thing where, you know, everything comes back to GTA 6, but you get this out before GTA 6 and offer it up as an alternative to someone who's like, man, that PlayStation 6 or PlayStation 5 is very expensive, and I don't know if I need all that, and I like playing stuff on PC or like the idea of playing stuff on a PC, but maybe mine's not up to snuff. Well, maybe just get the Steam Frame instead. I'm also looking at this, and someone in chat mentioned that there was a data mine. This is actually about VR, and I'm looking at the story, not seeing any reason why we would 100% assume that this is the Valve console. It could be that Deckard headset, that like standalone headset that apparently Valve has been working on for a long time as well. It's just there's been a lot more smoke around the console side of things than on the VR side of things from Valve for the last couple of months. So I think that's why people are leaning towards this being the console. But either way, like Valve probably faces a thing here of like, okay, well, yeah, they could do either one of those, and they probably are working on some stuff to like make either of those be appealing. Like, and obviously, I'm getting at, do you think Half-Life 3 is going to happen with, if this is the console or VR, whatever? Do you think they try to pair that up with this launch?
Oh, that would be amazing, Grubb. That would sell this.
Yep.
That would sell this. Also, I can't see them not also releasing Half-Life 3 on proper Steam.
Oh yeah, for sure.
This would be a frame mover for sure. Grubb, I didn't see it in the rundown here, but is there any rumors or rumblings or word on what a potential price would look like?
No, I think we might have talked about it before, and I think all that was just speculation. If there is anything solid out there, I don't recall it, but I mean, I think we could probably. I would guess it would be a tiered system because it's probably still going to be a PC at heart. And if they're going to work with third-party vendors the way they did with the Steam Machine, it'll be like, here's the $500 version with basic specs, and you can go up to a $1,500 version with all of the bells and whistles or something like that. But I would expect it to start around $500 because you take like a Steam Deck.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can, without having the space constraints of making it portable, you can probably put a lot of beefy hardware in there and keep it around the same price of a Steam Deck. So $500 to $600. That would be my expectation. Like they could charge a bit more for it, but I think the whole point of this, Jan, if you're trying to make a console version of the Steam Machine, the point is to make it affordable, right?
Yes, yeah, totally. This is strategically, business-wise, Grubb, it would make so much sense to try and sneak this under however much the PS5 is currently at, because that is the market you're trying to go for. On top of like random PC stragglers, you want to target that audience that is looking for a console experience but is looking to play games.
Yeah. And Sean's like $700. He's assuming I would $700, but then put a Steam subsidy on top because they are willing to sell it, maybe cost, maybe a little bit of a loss for these first couple of generations for these things to get them off the ground the way that they did with the Steam Deck. So that's kind of, I'm factoring that in. We'll see. All right, here, new features added to Game Boy Advance Nintendo Classics. This is from My Nintendo News. Nintendo has released an update for the Nintendo Switch Online Game Boy Advance app on Switch and Switch 2, giving the Nintendo Classics branding with a new banner and icon. The update adds the ability to customize your control scheme, allowing you to save different button mappings for each game. 1080p support when playing in handheld mode has also been added for those playing on Switch 2, as well as a GBA startup sequence. I think if you hold the stick in any direction, it'll start up just like a classic Game Boy Advance with the ding and everything. And that's a top tier, I think, Mount Rushmore startup sound. Obviously, PlayStation 1 is the George Washington. GameCube's on there, but GBA is on there as well.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that they put that little Easter egg in there. That's neat. We don't have to talk about these specifics, Jan, but Nintendo Switch Online overall, is this something that you interact with on any regular basis? How do you feel about the service? And how do you feel about it compared to like the old virtual console where you're buying games individually? What's the state of that to you?
I would rather buy games individually, Grubb, just because I feel like we had a bigger library when it was the virtual console versus how it's doled out now. I think it's a neat bonus for folks to just have that library of games. Yeah. It's just not. I particularly have not been given the GBA games or older Nintendo games that I am looking for specifically. I want more, and I want more niche titles. Like, for instance, I'd love to be able to like dip into an older Pokemon game, and I just haven't been able to do that. I have something like Golden Sun, which is great, but there's other miscellaneous GBA titles that I'm looking to play, and I'm hankering to play as well. Also, Grubb, you can play some of these games elsewhere, and it feels better. Also, I want to play DS games again, Grubb. I don't know why. I woke up this week thinking it'd be great to have a second screen. Damn it!
It's worth just getting a new 3DS, an old new 3DS secondhand, or even just a DSi XL or something like that, because that's the best way to play those games still, and you can hack the fuck out of those things and do whatever you need to do on them. It's good stuff. Okay, Amazon's Tomb Raider TV series is alive. Confirms that Sophie Turner will play Lara Croft in the show. This is from John Walker at Kotaku. It seems reports of the death of Amazon Prime's Tomb Raider series may have been greatly exaggerated. The UK's execrable Daily Mail reported earlier this year that sources have said the project, scripted by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, was dead. However, it's now being reported elsewhere that the show is still in development, and that Game of Thrones' Sophie Turner is confirmed to be in the lead role. We already knew Turner was intended to play Lara Croft in this latest attempt to convert Tomb Raider from games to screen, with the rumors first appearing in October 2024, then seeming more substantial in November. 6 months later, the errant report that the whole project had derailed appeared, and things have been quiet since. But now both The Hollywood Reporter and Variety are reporting that not only are things still progressing, but the film is due to start soonish, or filming is due to start soonish. The official date, according to Variety, is January 19th, 2026 for shooting to begin, with Sophie Turner officially confirmed by Amazon MGM as appearing in the lead role. Yeah, on again, off again, development hell, that stuff's pretty normal for a Hollywood production. So not shocked by the back and forth of any of this.
No.
But, how are you feeling about the return of a Tomb Raider film series and Sophie Turner as Lara Croft?
Grubb, I'm going to be honest. Tomb Raider,
please,
as a game, never really appealed to me, even as a youth.
Yeah.
And the prospect of seeing polygonal boobs. Even then afterwards, it still never grabbed me. The movies never really grabbed me at all. So I'm just going to be on the sidelines, politely nodding and thinking, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, there was a time where Lara Croft was the biggest thing in video games. It was this massive mainstream hit. And that turned some of those movies, the Angelina Jolie films, were really successful, actually. At least the first one did really well, which is why it got a sequel. And that's because it was all in the power of this character and the franchise. And that just, I mean, it has faded over time to the point where it's like, was it ever really that big? And it was. But now you look back, it's like, was it ever really that big? And Jan, I'm with you. Even as someone at the time who was looking for polygonal boobs, I was just like, these games aren't great. This is not actually worth any of this. I don't enjoy them, and I still don't enjoy them to this day. Right? I tried to play the most recent remaster collection, and I thought they did a good job of modernizing the control. They introduced analog control, I think, and things like that. And it's worth going back from a historical perspective. I just have never thought those games were all that fun. But okay, yeah, let's do it. I mean, you could do fun things with a Tomb Raider movie, and I really do hope they make it as fun as possible.
Yeah.
Put a T-Rex in there. Put a T-Rex in there.
Yeah.
Let Sophie Turner fight a T-Rex.
If I'm gonna get a scene, even if it's like less than 2 minutes of Sophie Turner punching a T-Rex or a raptor, any kind of dinosaur, I'll watch.
Yep. I did like the newer Tomb Raider games. The first one, that first remake or reboot, I should say, was pretty good. The second one was fantastic, and then the third one, I fell off pretty quickly. And then because of that, the game sort of just reverted back to where I had it before, where it's like I don't think about it ever. And yeah, I did like those games when I played them. I don't know. Tomb Raider overall is in a weird spot for me, where its cultural cachet is hard to explain and hard to put a finger on the pulse of it. Like, how important is this to people, really? Do people still go get Tomb Raider tattoos? I don't know.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I don't know.
I really don't.
I thought that Alicia Vikander movie for the Tomb Raider movie, the last one, was okay. And seeing all of the talent and all the staffing for this new Amazon Prime show, yeah, it could be good. Sure.
Yep.
That being said, Amazon Prime, they got hella money to throw at shit, so let's see.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I'm willing to see how this goes. Maybe this becomes super successful and that leads to even more. Maybe we get a Mr. Mosquito movie because this is so popular. And it's like, give me any video game property you can. I would take that. That's what I want to see. All right, let's go ahead and get to the poll question now that we're done with the headlines. This poll question is from yesterday, and it relates to something you might be doing today. Are you getting Silksong this week? Yes or no were your options. 57% said no, 43% said yes. I think a lot of people in the comments might mention, Jan, that it's on Game Pass, so I'll just get it on there.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are going to get it and get it for a part of a subscription that they've already paid. And that's a good move, but we've seen people are also still just buying that thing as it's shut down the Steam and eShops earlier today. Due to the excitement. I will play this game today. Although, I don't feel like I need to rush to cover it for Giant Bomb because that'll be our coverage. Mike's going to be playing a ton of it on the site today, and that can be sort of the main thrust of us covering it. I'm going to try to just enjoy this game and try to figure out why everyone likes Hollow Knight so much. I bounced off of Hollow Knight a couple times now, and I think it was more a me thing than the game thing. But still, I'm waiting for this game to really hook me and stop me from, just becoming sticky. So I'm I cannot put this thing down because it's as good as everyone says. I know it's in there. I just need to access it. All right, we got a new poll question. Let's get to that now. Does 007 First Light look like something you'll want to play? Yes, no, or I didn't watch the 007 State of Play. Be interested to see how people are feeling about this one. It's so easy to put new licensed games sort of in a box of wait and see, and I imagine a lot of people are going to do that. I'll wait to see what the reviews say, what the word of mouth is. Let's see if they optimize the frame rate so it's not as bad as it looked in this presentation, that sort of thing. So let's see where people fall on which side of the fence for 007 First Light. We'll get the results of that poll, talk about it here on Game Mess Mornings tomorrow on Giant Bomb. Speaking of Giant Bomb, Jan, what do we have happening?
Voicemail Dump Truck is going to be a skosh earlier today because we are making way for the Silksong Along, where Mike Minotti, as you mentioned, Grubb, is going to be playing for a good chunk of time, Hollow Knight Silksong. But before that, Grubb, for our premium folk out there, shouts out to all y'all, giantbomb.com/join. We are going to have a Discord town hall for all of our premium members. So if you're a premium member, get into the Giant Bomb Discord. It's a lovely place to hang out. I lurk there all the time and watch all of your conversations. and I just giggle and LOL to myself.
I am looking forward to that. It's going to be a good day of stuff. Everyone should turn into all of it. Tune into all of it. Looking forward to doing Dump Truck, the Town Hall, and all that. I'm also looking forward to maybe popping in with Mike while he plays that game and seeing how he's finding it. Pop in and see how he's enjoying Silksong along. All right, let's see here. We did the new poll question. We did that. I think we should probably remind people that you should vote on the Bomb 12. You could find the link to the form in the blog post on giantbomb.com. Maybe we could put it in the description as well for today. I don't know. We'll do that. That'd be great. Thank you, Jan. It's also on my Blue Sky. So if you go to grubb.wtf on Blue Sky, I just posted it there. So if that's probably the easiest way to find it for a lot of people listening. And I want to hear what game you're playing this week. If it's something other than Silksong, you might want to say so, because otherwise I think Silksong might dominate. But we'll find out tomorrow at the end of Game Mess Mornings exactly what the Bomb 12 is going to be for this week. All right. Jan, thank you so much for hanging out with me today and talking about video games, man. I really appreciate it.
It's the only way to start a Thursday, Grubb.
Thank you all for listening and watching and joining in. You are the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.